realized then it was a good thing. Some things are like that. And we can see an example of this with our own children, where the first time you take your child to the dentist, before you take the child, you build him up. You tell him how nice the dentist is. He's a good man. He likes you. He's going to give you a lollipop, whatever. So the kid is happy to go see the dentist. Then when he gets in the chair, and the dentist takes out that big needle, kid is looking at this needle, and he takes it and he sticks it in his mouth, and the kid screams. Then he pulls out this drill, and he starts digging it into his teeth. The kid is bawling, tears are running down his face. And when he leaves with his father at the end of all that, he says, "Dad, you said he was a good man. He's a bad man. He's not a good man. He's a bad man." And of course, the next time you have to take him to the dentist, he's going to be fighting you tooth and nail. He won't allow you to take him. He'll be kicking, fighting, screaming. You try to explain to him, "Listen, son, what the dentist did was to remove a greater pain that could come. The little pain that he did to you was to prevent a bigger pain, bad teeth, root canal, all these other things that can come out of it." You think your son can understand that? No. All he can understand is the pain that the dentist did to him. All of that explanation is way above his head. Can't see it. And that's how it is. Things we can't see the good behind. Some people assume there is no good, and so they fall into atheism. This is the common disease that happens to some people who haven't understood God and how God operates in human life. So when tragedy occurs in their life, they fall apart. And the only conclusion they can come to is that there can't possibly be a God. You see people like Dawkins, Professor Dawkins in the UK, considered a genius, mathematical genius, who wrote about the world and time, basically a defense of atheism, arguing why there is no God. If you see him, he is a shriveled up individual in a wheelchair who can hardly move anything. His eyelids, that's it. So, what happened? When he was in his prime, he was 18 years old, mathematical genius in Oxford and Cambridge. He was stricken by a disease which affected his spinal cord, and he slowly just shriveled up. So, when he came to India, traveled around India, and he saw all of these billion Indians, most of whom had little or no education, living lives healthy, while he who has so much to offer the world is shriveled up. He said, there can't be a God. This is just not fair. Why shouldn't I have a healthy body and one of these millions be shriveled up? That makes more sense. He couldn't accept his state. So it led him to disbelief in God. And this is what you hear at the bottom of the statements of many atheists when you ask them, how did you become an atheist? Why are you an atheist? They'll tell you, well, listen, I had this aunt. She was a wonderful person. She used to do so many good things for everybody. She used to come and visit me and take me to the park and take me here and there and give me money and ice cream and everything. And then one day, when we were walking across the street, a truck came, hit her, and killed her. Why? She was a good person. Why should she be killed like that? There's so many other bad people who are walking around. They're fine. They're not dead. Why is she dead? He doesn't have an explanation. So where does he go? There can't be a God. This stuff is just happening anyhow, anyway. So this kind of misunderstanding, leads to disbelief in God itself when a person doesn't know their Lord. There is a further question which I would like to raise for you, and that is the statement of those who say God created this world and left it to run by itself. He's not involved. It's too insignificant. He just created it and left it to run by itself. They accept there's got to be a God. So they are what they call deists. They believe in the existence of God, but they don't believe that God conveyed his word to humankind. No, they say that's fairy tales. There's so many religions around the world. Everyone claims that he's right. They're all wrong. They're all made up by human beings. Of course, the possibility that one is right and the rest are all wrong, he doesn't reflect on that one. He just sees all of them claiming to be right, and they have different teachings. Therefore, he can only conclude they all must be wrong. So, if one accepts that, then of course, he also doesn't know who his Lord is. He said he believes in God, but he doesn't know who God is. Because common sense tells us, practical common sense tells us, that if a man set up a factory and he put an advertisement in the paper for people to come and work in his factory, and he hired all of these people, and then on the day when the factory was supposed to begin operations, they all came down to the factory, and he didn't tell them what they were there for, what was their individual jobs. And they walked into the factory. What do you think they're going to do? Is each one going to go and find his place in the factory and slot in and just be working and the factory is just humming and working well? Or is he going to go to the canteen where there is tea being served, sit down with his friends and chat until somebody comes along and tells him what he's supposed to be doing here? If nobody told him, what do you think would happen to that company? It would be a resounding success or a stupendous failure. It would have been a failure, of course. And what would we say about a businessman who did that? We'd say he is an idiot. He is a fool. He is dumb, stupid, unwise. We have a whole string of terms for him. All of them indicating foolish. Now, if we can accept that with regards to a company, what about the world? And what about the God who created this world? For us to say he didn't tell us what we're supposed to do here is to make him like the owner of that company. He is the most wise, as Allah describes him in the Quran, وَهُوَ أَحْسَنُ الْحَاكِمِينَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. The most wise of the wise. One of his names is Al-Hakim.